Somewhere in your living room, there is a scratching post that your cat has never once touched. You bought it, you brought it home, and you were quite pleased with yourself. And it's been standing in the corner by the window ever since, gathering dust, while your cat systematically destroys the arm of the couch 4 feet away. And what almost every owner concludes from this is that their cat is being stubborn, or that scratching posts don't work. Neither of those is true. That post is failing for one specific, fixable reason, and it's almost always the same reason. I'll tell you exactly what it is at the end, because it's the most common mistake I see, and once people fix it, a lot of them find the problem disappears within a week. Hi everyone, I'm Leo Bennett, your neighborhood cat guy. Today we're saving your furniture, and we're doing it without hurting your cat. Because I've made my position on declawing very clear, and I won't repeat it here. But saying don't do that isn't good enough on its own. If I'm telling you not to take the claws, I owe you a real answer for the couch, the chair, the carpet, and your forearms. So that's today. What scratching actually is, why your cat picked the furniture they picked, and the system that redirects it. Quick note before we start. This is one chapter of a much bigger conversation about what your cat is trying to tell you, and I've gathered all of it into a book called The Happy Cat Manual over at leobennettsecrets.com. If you want more happy years with your cat, go take a look. That's all. Now, let's start with the thing you have to accept before any of this works. Scratching is not a behavior problem. I need that established first because as long as you're treating it as misbehavior, every solution you reach for will be the wrong one. Scratching is a necessity, not a luxury, not a quirk, and not your cat being destructive for entertainment. It's 3 jobs happening at once. Job 1 is physical. When a cat reaches up, sinks the claws in, and pulls down, they're working the muscles across the shoulders, back, and entire upper body. It's a full stretch under resistance, and nothing else in a cat's day does the same thing. Job 2 is claw maintenance. A cat's claws grow in layers, and scratching pulls off the worn outer sheath to expose the sharp new claw underneath. If you've ever found what looks like a tiny hollow claw shell near a post, that's it, not damage, shedding. And job 3 is the one that explains everything else in this video, marking. Scratching leaves 2 signals at once. A visual one, those obvious vertical marks, which any other cat can read from across the room. And a chemical one, because cats have scent glands in their paws, so every scratch deposits their personal scent into that spot. So your cat isn't wrecking your couch, your cat is signing it. And here's why that matters more than you'd think. A cat's security comes from owning territory. A cat who cannot mark their space becomes genuinely insecure, and that anxiety doesn't stay contained. It comes out somewhere else, usually somewhere worse, like outside the litter box. So a cat with nowhere acceptable to scratch isn't a cat who stops scratching. It's a cat with a problem you'd like even less. So the question is never, how do I stop this? The question is, where do I want it to happen? And to answer that, you have to understand why they picked the couch. Because it wasn't random, and it wasn't spite. Think about where you spend your time at home. The couch, the bed, hours every day in the same 2 places, leaving skin cells and body oils and warmth behind. Those 2 pieces of furniture are saturated in your scent. They're the strongest smelling you in the entire building. And your cat, whose whole security system runs on scent, comes along and does the most affectionate territorial thing they know how to do, which is to layer their own scent on top of yours. That's what's happening. They're not attacking your sofa, they're blending. In cat terms, they're saying, this is ours. We belong to each other. This is where the family lives. And one important thing follows from that, and it's what dooms most people's first attempt. You cannot simply make the couch unavailable and expect the problem to vanish, because the location itself matters. That spot was chosen for a reason. Any solution that only says no will fail, because you've removed the option without addressing the need. Which brings us to the framework everything else here hangs on. Behind every no, there has to be a yes. You are not trying to eliminate a behavior. You're relocating it a few feet. So let's start with the easy part, the first thing you should do today, which is trimming the claws. This alone won't stop scratching, and it isn't meant to, but it dramatically reduces the damage a scratch does, both to your furniture and to your arms. Blunt tips can't hook and tear the way sharp ones do, and a lot of people are genuinely surprised how much difference that alone makes. Here's the technique quickly, and I've got a whole video on this if you want the long version. Take the toe between finger and thumb, gentle press on the knuckle from above and the pad from below, and the claw extends right out. Now look at it. On a pale claw, you'll see the pink section running up the middle. That's the quick, where the blood supply and nerves are, and that's the part you never touch. Take the sharp tip only. You'll feel like you've barely done anything, and that's exactly right, because if you only ever take the tips, you genuinely cannot get this wrong. And here's the part almost nobody gets right, the approach. Don't go hunting your cat down with clippers in hand. Don't corner them. Don't hold them still. Catch them napping. Keep a pair of clippers on the side table or by the bed, and when your cat is drowsy and warm and half asleep on you, take one nail, just one, then stop. Because here's the association you're building, and it decides whether this ever works again. If every single time you touch your cat's paws it means clipping, they will start pulling their feet away the moment your hand moves. So touch the paws often, at random, for no reason, and clip only occasionally. One nail today, 2 tomorrow, a few the day after. Over a week, you'll get all of them and nobody will have had a bad time. Slower, but permanent. Now the no. And this is where people reach straight for punishment. So let me be direct about it. You cannot shout a cat out of scratching, and you cannot spray them out of it. All you get is a cat who scratches when you're out of the room and has learned to be a bit afraid of you, and you'll still have the damaged couch, now with a worse relationship attached to it. What actually works is making the surface itself unpleasant, so the feedback comes from the furniture rather than from you. The most effective tool for this is double-sided sticky tape, and there are products made specifically for the job. You apply it to the exact spot your cat has been working on, usually the front corner or arm of the couch. And it works because of texture, not pain. Cats have very sensitive paws, and they strongly dislike anything tacky under their pads. It isn't hurting them, it's just deeply unsatisfying, and unsatisfying is enough. There are other options too. A smooth plastic protector panel over the corner, or taut fabric that gives the claws no purchase. All the same principle. Scratching there stopped being rewarding. And here's the crucial thing about the no, and I want to say it plainly. On its own, this will fail. If you tape the couch and do nothing else, your cat doesn't stop needing to scratch. They relocate. The other arm, the chair, the carpet, the speaker cover. You moved the problem. You didn't solve it. The tape is half the system, and it's the less important half. Which brings us to the yes and. Specifically, what makes a scratching post work? Because most of the ones people buy are unusable and the owner never realizes why. Rule 1. And it eliminates most cheap posts immediately. It has to be stable. Your cat puts their full body weight into it and pulls down hard. If the post wobbles, tips, or shifts even slightly under that load, they will not use it again, and they won't give it a second chance, because a wobbling post is a small betrayal of trust in a moment where they're stretched out and vulnerable. So it needs a wide, heavy base. Here's the test. Grab the top and pull sideways with real force. If it rocks, your couch has already won. Rule 2. Height. Tall enough for a full stretch. Watch your cat scratch the couch and see how far they extend, toes to nose. Then, look at the post you bought. Most of the ones sold are simply too short, and a post that forces a cat to scrunch isn't doing job 1. Rule 3. And this is where people go wrong for years without knowing. Material and angle are individual. Cats have genuine preferences and they don't all match. Some want sisal rope, some want corrugated cardboard, some want plain untreated wood or carpet, and some cats don't want to scratch vertically at all. They want a horizontal pad on the floor, or one set at an angle. If you bought one post, your cat ignored it, and you decided posts don't work, what actually happened is you guessed once and guessed wrong. So the correct way is to stop guessing and look at the evidence you already have, because your cat has been leaving it around your house for months. What is your cat currently destroying? If it's the carpet, they're a horizontal scratcher, and they've been telling you that all along. If it's the side of the sofa, that's vertical and probably a woven fabric texture. If it's a wooden table leg, that's wood. Buy the thing that most resembles what they've already chosen. And if you're genuinely unsure, buy 2 or 3 cheap different ones, put them out, and let your cat vote. Cardboard scratchers cost very little, and they'll give you an answer within a few days. And now, the last piece. The one I told you about at the start, and the reason that post in your corner has been sitting untouched for 2 years. Placement. You have to put the post right next to the thing they're already scratching. Not in the corner, not by the window where it looks tidy, not in the spare room where guests won't see it. Immediately beside the arm of the couch, close enough to touch it. And I know exactly why people don't. Because a scratching post is not an attractive object, and the couch sits in the middle of the living room. So people buy the post and then quietly put it wherever it's least offensive to look at, which is almost always the far side of the room. Then the cat ignores it, and the owner decides their cat is impossible. But go back to what we established at the start. Your cat did not choose that couch corner because it felt nice. They chose it because of where it is. Saturated in your scent, sitting in the middle of the household's territory, often right by a doorway or a main route through the room, which makes it a prime marking spot. The location is the entire point. So when you put the alternative 20 feet away, you haven't offered a replacement. You've offered a different, worse location, and your cat has correctly declined. Put the post directly beside the couch, tape the couch corner, and now the two options sit side by side. One is tacky and unsatisfying, the other is stable, tall, the right texture, and in exactly the right spot. Your cat will make that choice by themselves within days, and you didn't have to say a single word. That's the whole system. No, right next to yes, in the same place. Not a battle of wills, just two options, side by side, and one of them is obviously better. And once it's working, you can move the post if you really want to. Slowly. A few inches every few days, over weeks, until it's somewhere you can live with. But be honest with yourself about how far you actually need to move it. Because a post in a slightly annoying spot that your cat uses every day is infinitely better than a beautiful room with a shredded sofa in it. Now, one more option, and I want to place it correctly rather than sell it to you. Nail caps. These are small vinyl covers glued over the trimmed claw. They don't hurt, they don't stop the claw retracting, and they make it essentially impossible for your cat to damage anything. They grow out with the nail and pop off after a few weeks. Then you trim and reapply. Who are they for? Situations where the stakes are higher than a sofa. A household with a very young child. Someone immunocompromised, where a scratch is a real medical risk. An elderly person with fragile skin. These used to be the exact circumstances where people were told declawing was the only option, and it never was, and this is one of the reasons why. But I'd treat them as a tool rather than a default. Because here's my honest view. Nail caps solve your problem without addressing your cat's. Your cat still needs to scratch, still needs to mark, still needs that stretch, and a capped claw doesn't remove the drive, it just removes the consequences. So even if you use them, do everything else as well. Trim, tape, post, placement. The caps are there to buy you safety while the real system does the actual work. And one last thing for anyone with a kitten. Do all of this now. Every part of it is dramatically easier on an animal who has never learned the couch is an option. Trim from the very beginning so paw handling is ordinary. Have proper posts up before there's a problem. Put them in the right places from day one. A cat who grows up with good options in sensible spots will very likely never give you this problem at all. And if you're 5 years into a destroyed sofa, that's fine too. This still works. It just takes a few more weeks and a roll of tape. So let me pull this together. Your cat is not attacking your furniture. Your cat is stretching, maintaining their claws, and marking the most important territory in their world, which happens to be the place that smells the most like you. That is not a behavior to eliminate, and every attempt to eliminate it makes something else worse. It's a behavior to relocate. So trim the tips regularly and keep it pleasant. Make the couch corner unrewarding with tape. Get a post that's genuinely stable, tall enough for a full stretch, and made of whatever your cat is already choosing to destroy. And then put it right next to the thing you're protecting, because location was never negotiable for your cat, and it shouldn't be for you either. Behind every no, there has to be a yes, and the yes has to be in the right place. Yes, it means there's now a scratching post beside your sofa. I know. But you compromise for every other member of your household without thinking twice about it. And this one costs you a corner of a room and buys your cat a lifetime of intact paws. That's not a bad deal. So tell me in the comments, where is your scratching post right now? And where is your cat actually scratching? I'd bet money those are two different places for most of you. Hit like, subscribe, and send this to somebody who's about to give up on their sofa. I'm Leo Bennett. Go move that post today and let me know how it goes.